The head of the Premier League, your buddy Richard Masters, faced a parliamentary inquiry and was asked if Saudi Arabia's ownership of Newcastle was being investigated. So I said parliamentary inquiry. I think it's something called the Department of Culture, Media and Sport.
DCMS.
This is what he said. I'll get you. I'm just going to read his quote. He says, "I'm afraid I can't really comment on it. Even to the point of saying, is the Premier League investigating it? I can't really comment." Are you okay with that? Should he give answers? Should there be some level of transparency?
Yeah, they should. Why is it such a big deal? Why is it so secret? I mean, they are that.
You know why? Because there's lawyers. There's lawyers There's my least favorite people in the world. There's lawyers all around them saying, "Oh no, Masters, you can't comment. Don't say anything. Pretend you lost your voice."
And there's also government, I won't say interference, but government involvement at some level of this, because
100%.
As we know this. Saudi Arabia is a very big trading
the previous
partner
Prime Minister,
an ally of the UK. Now, during the initial Newcastle takeover, when this was shelved, shall we say, the Freedom of Information request found that the government did have certainly people liaising between the Premier League and the Saudis to make sure this happened eventually, because it was bad for the UK government, UK PLC, not to have Saudi Arabia buying a football club, which is, you know, the bigger picture is football is a big deal, but politics, real politics, this is what it's all about, and it's not about whether it's right from a football perspective.
What bugs me here is basically he's saying like, oh look, well, if we are investigating them, I can't tell you, double secret probation, like from Animal House, that kind of stuff. And he says, and then if we do, you know, charge them, then we'll make a panel or whatever, then you'll find out. I don't think that's good enough. I think Newcastle, for better or worse, are one of the 20 Premier League clubs. They are Richard Masters' boss indirectly, right? They have a right to know if this is being investigated.
I imagine Newcastle do know. Surely, that if they're being investigated, sure they would have to provide some sort of evidence. I'm sure that they would know if they were being investigated. You can't be investigated, not.
I think they're going over the evidence. If they are investigating, they can just go over the evidence that they submitted for the bid, and paying a whole bunch of lawyers $3,000 an hour to go and give opinions on stuff that's already been decided.
I'd be amazed if anything changed at the end of this.
I don't think so either. But I don't think it's fair to Richard Masters either that he's be made to look ridiculous.
No.
And be like, oh, I can't even say no comment. No. I just can't, come on, man.
I think he accepts that ridiculous part of it as well. So the Times reporting that Chelsea and Todd Bowley face serious resistance from fans and maybe local residents as well if they move from Stamford Bridge to a new stadium. Please explain why the fans have a say when they don't even own the club.
Well, the funny thing is, in the specific case of Chelsea, back in the late 80s, there was early 80s, early 90s, there was a situation where the club were going bankrupt and sort of developers were going to take over the club. The club is in a quite high value part of London in terms of real estate. And so a company was formed called Chelsea Pitch Owners, who basically raised money, fans contributed money, bailed them out. They got the leasehold, or they own the freehold to the ground, and essentially they can block any move away to a different ground. They can block it basically if any football club moves from Stamford Bridge to somewhere else. If the football club that Bowley owns were to move it without their consent, he can't call it Chelsea Football Club. Yeah. You can call it Bowley FC. I don't know. Call it something else, right? So this gives them a lot of power. Now, they want to expand the club because there's only, I think it's under 42,000 fans in the stadium, and it's more lucrative to have bigger stadiums, better facilities, whatever else. The really difficult thing that they have is they have a lot of wealthy, powerful people who live all around the club, and so it's difficult to expand it to the level that they want to. So they have planning permission for something where I think they might reverse the pitch or whatever, but it's still expensive. It's disruptive. It would mean that if they do the work there, it would mean that for 3 or 4 years they'd have to go play somewhere else. There's been talk of Twickenham, where the England rugby play. That's far away. There's talk of Wembley, which I don't think anybody would be excited about. They could ground share with Fulham, but that's a little teeny tiny stadium, and they probably don't want to do that. Or QPR, that's another not very
Brentford
advanced. Brentford down. Now you're taking the mick. So it's I just think it's a tricky situation to be in. I personally like the fact though that Chelsea Pitch Owners exist, and there's a group of fans that have a right to say, but I'm not moving this club.
Are they not now maybe holding the club back in the sense that I understand their link to the club and their desire to stay there, but if the ground isn't big enough to monetise the club as Bowley wants to, are they not holding the club back by being unrealistic in the sense that the club needs to grow? It's outgrown what it was in the 1980s, certainly.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.